But I want to start with some brief thoughts on IU versus Rutgers because that game's still newsworthy. It was just a couple days ago, and I'm sure we both have thoughts. So I was on WIUX. I was broadcasting from the studio in Bloomington. So, watching the Big Ten Plus broadcast and broadcasting it on the radio from here, kind of a strange experience. I assume you were here as well. Did you make the trip?
I did not go out to Rutgers on going to New Jersey on a Wednesday night would have been a little bit much.
Oh, that's right. The middle of the week. I know there were some travel things with that. I think some of the people that travel for radio and all of that, the professionals, I know there was like real concern they weren't going to be able to go with the winter storms. But out of a student's realm of possibility, I suppose. So I'll give the floor to you right away. Quick thoughts, takeaways. IU was down for much of the game. They ended up winning. How did that happen? I'd love to hear your take.
I think it was a resilient win, I would say. I think coming into the game, Indiana kind of overlooked Rutgers, and I think that was an easy thing to do. I mean, you're 1-16 in the Big Ten this season. Like, Rutgers isn't the best team. They're still a strong team. They're not the best team in the Big Ten. There's a lot better teams, UCLA, for example. But I mean, Rutgers is 159th in the net rankings. They haven't won a game since January 18th. I mean, your best win this season is against a Rhode Island team that's 24-4 in the A10 this season. Not to put down the A10. I do like A10 basketball. I think they're going to have three really good teams in their conference tournament with George Mason and Richmond. And I think they could win a game in the NCAA tournament, whoever comes out of them. But I think for the game on Wednesday, it was just Rutgers kind of came out and just like punched Indiana in the mouth to start that game, I feel like. A lot of ball pressure, a lot of stupid turnovers, I'll say, from Indiana. I mean, you have 8 turnovers in the first quarter. That's not something you want to see, and that's not something you want to see this late in the season. Indiana's down 22-17 at the end of the first quarter. I mean, other than their one redeeming quality was shooting the three at a high level in that first quarter. Maya McAvoy and Shea Chesky both make 2 3-pointers, and that kind of keeps them in the game, kind of keeps their confidence up. But I would say throughout that first quarter, I was just waiting until like Indiana's going to make their move and start the comeback attempt. And it doesn't really happen until the third quarter. Like, there's a point to start the third quarter where I'm kind of questioning. I'm like, can Indiana win this game? Like, they need to win this game. Like, to start at the third quarter for Rutgers, Lawrence Swan and Zachariah Perkins both make 3-pointers, and then you're kind of looking, and it's a 10-point lead for Rutgers. Like, there's still a lot of game time left, but it's a 10-point lead. And they kind of just chipped away, and they kept on just chipping away. And I think a big thing with that is limiting the turnovers. I believe they only had 4 turnovers in the second half. They had 14 in the first half. That helps a lot. I know you've mentioned it before, but this is a really efficient shooting team. Like, they shot 49% from the field. That's really impressive, and they've done that basically every single game in Big Ten play, and especially recently. But I think when you look back to that Northwestern win and then the 3 games after that, or the 2 wins after that, I think they needed those games and they needed those results. I think if this game against Rutgers came in January, I don't think a comeback would have happened. But I think they got that confidence and they got those wins, and they know that they're a good team and they're an improving team. And I think it was really interesting just to see how resilient this team is. And that's something that Terry Morin has talked about. She was like, for the down year that we're having, this team is resilient. This team shows up every single day to work. And I think they did that on Wednesday.
Absolutely. And certainly with a leader like Shea Chesky, I can't imagine the team would be anything other than resilient with her sort of at the helm. I mean, you make a good point about the efficient shooting. I noticed when I was preparing for the broadcast, I I always go to the Big Ten stats and just filter every individual stat, see if anything unusual is happening. And yeah, Indiana was, I think, second in field, or perhaps second in three-point percentage and sixth in field goal percentage, or maybe the other way around, but you get the point. They were up around the top 5 in shooting, but obviously first in turnovers, and that was the other storyline, is Indiana's number 1 in turnovers in conference games amongst Big Ten teams. Rutgers was number 2, and we kind of saw both of those teams at different points in this game kind of reveal that. And yeah, certainly in the first half, the IU demons sort of resurfacing at the very beginning. I know Shea Chesky had the first 5 points. There was a point where she had the vast majority of Indiana's points for a prolonged period of time, to the point where it was a little bit concerning. And also the turnovers early on. And it did remind me of, I guess, 2025, December, November, that time period. It reminded me of that IU women's basketball team. Especially on the road against a 1-15 Big Ten team in Rutgers. And then kind of one by one, that kind of shifted. We had Matt Gillespie first, as you mentioned, with those 2 threes. I loved Nevaeh Caffey high to low. I got the most excited for that, both internally and, obviously on the broadcast a little bit. Thrilled about Nevaeh Caffey kind of with those confident takes to the basket. That was great from her later on. And then, yeah, you kind of see Lene Beaumont got going a little bit. You kind of see that supporting cast elevate, and the tide rises and all the boats rise with it, and Indiana obviously surges ahead. It was really weird because Rutgers was comfortably ahead the whole game, and when Indiana flipped that momentum very quickly and won by 10, but once they were shooting free throws at the end of the game and were up by 10, it kind of felt right. Like, it felt like that was the result that this game was supposed to head towards. Maybe that's just because I spend too much time with IU relative to maybe some other teams. But yeah, not quite a complete win. We've seen some true complete 4-quarter wins where Indiana plays great the whole way. Not quite that this time, but they were great at the right moment, and obviously able to come away with a victory. And we'll see how they come out against Penn State, because, you're right, that to question that game and be, are we sure Indiana's going to win this game at Rutgers right now when it is truly a must-win game? Obviously an interesting question to be asking at this point in the year. But nonetheless, they get it done, and nonetheless they move on to Penn State. And yeah, I mean, Rutgers is interesting. They're obviously rebuilding, certainly, like at the very bottom step of rebuilding. But I still like their team. I really like Zachariah Perkins. I really like Amani Lester. She's my favorite player on that team. I just think she's awesome. I truly enjoy watching her. I've watched some more Rutgers than most other Big Ten teams recently, just in preparation for that broadcast. And maybe the only player that I truly consistently enjoy watching is Amani Lester. And then, of course, Nene Njai, Faith Blackstone. They have some other nice pieces there. Not quite enough pieces to put together a truly good season, but still, there's something there with the Rutgers. It's not necessarily a very bad basketball team. Just obviously couldn't get it together this year, and apparently couldn't get together against IU thanks to that late surge from the Hoosiers. Any other thoughts on IU Rutgers before we move on to the Big Ten tournament? Because that was certainly a tricky one for fans.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up kind of those Rutgers pieces. Precious Jem Wheeler, I think she was a 3-star recruit, freshman, has played in a lot of games, not a lot of minutes, but I think in a couple years, kind of in 2 years, she can be kind of one of the best players for a Rutgers program if she stays there. And just kind of looking to the other side, looking back to Indiana, I think Adessa Noyon, has been one of the best kind of improvers this season. She did not look too confident, I would say, around the start of the season, kind of in November. And I think the way she's playing now, there's a night and day difference. And I think she's a crucial piece of this team when you have Zania Soka Nguyen injured for most of the season. And against Rutgers, she only puts up 6 points, but she has 15 rebounds. And that's something you need for a team that doesn't get a lot of rebounds and hasn't gotten a lot of rebounds the last couple of seasons. And that just seems like a kind of the way that they play kind of issue. I mean, Adessa Noyon has 15 rebounds. 5 of those are offensive. And just having those second chance opportunities, I think, are huge. It's a massive opportunity for this Indiana team. I think Journey Kyaku has been one of my favorites to watch this season too. She gets to the basket, I will say. For a team that I think sometimes is a little stagnant on offense, Kyaku coming off the bench and just getting downhill and just being aggressive and being fast, I think is something that I like to see. And I think as a senior, this is kind of like her one season playing up in competition. She comes from Duquesne in the A-10. And I think it's been a good bench season from her. Like she was never getting into the starting lineup. She's listed as 5'7", so you're kind of giving up a little bit on the defensive end when you have Shea already at 5'7". But I think she's been one of the best pieces, one of the most consistent pieces on this team, and I just like the way that she plays and her aggressiveness.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Journey Kyaku as well. I remember a moment from this game. Sometimes it's tricky for me to, like, when I do play-by-play, I don't remember what even happens because I'm so immersed, like, in the moment and trying to describe everything. And I'm, it's very moment to moment, whereas when I'm just watching it or I'm covering it otherwise, I'm, like, making pattern recognition, that kind of thing. But I remember a play in the second half where Kyaku has the ball inbounded to her, and she is just racing across the court. And in my head, I was like, she's going all the way. And you can tell that she has that speed and she has that quick first step and that elusiveness, especially once she gets into the half court. And I believe that turned into a layup for Indiana. But that's the type of play that, like you mentioned, I love that spark off the bench. Like, physically, you can tell the game is faster. The game is a little bit more, efficient for the Hoosiers with Journey Kyaku in off the bench, which has been very, very nice. Nguyen, even in that game, I think you make a good point about that as well. I mean, early on, I was with Jack Snyder. We were on the call for IUX, and we were pointing out how Rutgers was still kind of consistently able to get to the blocks, and that's kind of how they want to play offense. It seems like they don't shoot the three a whole lot. They didn't shoot it very well the other day. And so they were able to get in against Nguyen, whether it's Amani Lester and Nene Njai, kind of those anchors, or whether it's those guards downhill. They were able to attack that front court. But that changed throughout the game. And I remember a sequence in the second half where Lester blocks a shot on one end, and then Nguyen blocks Lester's shot on the other end. And it's the type of Amani Lester shot that you see go in every game. It's one of those. That's her spot. Right there, sort of by the basket, kind of, in the mid-range to the right side, and Nguyen swats it away, and then there's a momentum shifting there. And again, you're exactly right. That's a play that Odessa Nguyen wouldn't have made a while back. So it's that improvement throughout the year that's been helpful for Indiana. You see it on the record, you see it on the wins and losses, but you also see it, play to play, sequence to sequence, possession to possession. You see moments where there's evidence of this team being better than it was.